Good evening, Dhamma friends. Welcome to today's Sutta study class. We are going to begin this evening Sutta study with the special topic Paticcasamuppada to overcome avidya, the ignorance. Let us begin this Sutta study class by paying homage to the Buddha by reciting Namo Tassa 3 times. And I wish may this Sutta study class be a help for you to develop your mind on Sila Samadhi and Panya and escape from sansaric suffering. With that thought in mind, let us pay our homage to the Buddha. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the Fully Enlightened One. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the Fully Enlightened One. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the Fully Enlightened One. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Friends in Dhamma, we started the Sutta study class with Paticcasamuppada, one of the widespread teaching of the Buddha in the entire teaching. We tried our best to explain what is Paticcasamuppada from general point of view as well as doctrinal point of view. We also discussed how important the understanding of the Paticcasamuppada in the practice for one to cross over their normal mind towards the spiritual advanced mind. We accept the fact that we could not understand each and every aspect of Paticcasamuppada because it is too deep. It appears to be deep as well as actually it is deep. However, when we try our best to understand Paticcasamuppada, something significant happen in our mind because we would be able to link each practices together, and we see the causal relationship of one actions to the other, one mentality to other, so that we feel joy and happiness because of knowing something from the Buddha's teaching. So Paticcasamuppada could work in someone else's mind in the way it is, but the understanding about Paticcasamuppada of someone would be in different levels. So today our effort is to say the links of Paticcasamuppada starting from ignorance. Ignorance is the main, one of the main causes of suffering. It is in line with lobha and dosa, and avidya. When we use that term avidya, it has a link with moha, and course avidya is another term for moha. And then avidya cannot exist alone. It is not without any support, it is without support. So in avidya pahana sutta of Anguttara Nikaya, we can see that the immediate akusala, kamma, akusala chetana to produce avidya is 5 hindrances. So we have learned that in the sutta study that avidya has causes for it to come as avidya. So our trying today is to understand avidya as a fact of the Paticcasamuppada formula, and how we understand avidya when we practice Dhamma in the name of Paticcasamuppada. We were talking about Paticcasamuppada nature last week, that we have to understand it. There is nothing to cultivate in the name of Paticcasamuppada, the wise people, the wise individuals should look at this cause and effect formula in mind and body, so that you get the knowledge, you acquire the knowledge about it. So what we have to do with Paticcasamuppada is understanding, and when we understand Paticcasamuppada on ignorance, what could happen to us? This is the main focus for today's Sutta studies. Friends, there are many discourses where avijja is being discussed in different lens. As this is one of the main causes for samsara journey for each and everyone in this universe, we need to understand this. Avijja is defined by Venerable Sariputta in Satcavibhanga Sutta and other discourses as not knowing the first noble truth, the second noble truth, and the third noble truth, and the fourth noble truth. So if one does not know about the four noble truths as they are, it is called avijja. This sounds that knowing the four noble truth is very, very important for us. Knowing four noble truth clears that we are a part of, of course, a part of Four Noble Truth. Or even we do not know what Four Noble Truths. Every living being is a kind of, progression on Four Noble Truths. In other words, Four Noble Truth could be seen by wise people of those uneducated people about Four Noble Truths. Even when you see animals, you can see them based on Four Noble Truths. So being born as animal is a suffering, jati, and due to being born as an animal, they experience aging, dying, sicknesses, and all kinds of problems. And then the cause for all kinds of suffering is relinking tanha that is produced in each moment. And then we can see that they are surrounding or going from this life to next life in the animals kingdom because of not knowing the escape from suffering, and also not knowing the path for escape from suffering. So if you look at any beings, you can see the function of the Four Noble Truths in different ways. So not knowing Four Noble Truth means avijja, which means that we do not know who we are and what we are. So that is Venerable Sariputta's explanation to avijja in many discourses. And we can simplify this into this way, that if we do not know our mind and body, how they function, that is called avijja. And if we do not know how to control our mind when greed and sensual pleasures arise, that is also avijja. If we are really knowing about what is happening in our mind when sensual pleasures arises, actually that is the absence of avijja. But if you do not know what exactly happened, that is avijja. So suppose you missed, you forget about the impermanence, so that you hang on to kind of idea that I want this, and I'm the owner, I'm the person who would like to receive it, so I keep it all the time without any change. So if you happen to have this kind of thought process, that is avijja working in your mind. So avijja could be everywhere when any undefiled state arises in our mind. So avijja is supporting all kinds of defilements. along with lobha and dosa. That's why we have akusala moola, and also when there is no avidya, all kinds of kusala could arise in the sense of giving some momentum for kusala. I mean, in the Avidya Sutta of Samyutta Nikaya, the Buddha said that avidya or the ignorance is the leader in the attainment of unskillful qualities. So Buddha never give any priority to any other defiled state except avidya like this. Avidya or ignorance is the leader of in attainment of unskillful qualities. When there is avidya, lack of fear for doing wrong things, and a shame, the people do not have that ashamedness or feeling of not doing this because of this and that. They don't feel that. So when there is avidya, there is that lack of conscience and lack of concern. And then in the if this happened to a unknowledgeable person, in the Dhamma, unknowledgeable person means the one who doesn't know about kusala and akusala, papa and punya. So this person, if this happened to this person, he or she immersed in ignorance again, and then with ignorance, wrong view arises, which is michaditti, and then when there is wrong view, michya sankappa come to exist, and then with michya sankappa, michya vacha, michya kammanta, michya ajiva, michya vayama, michya sati, michya samadhi, everything becomes wrong. Why this happened? Because ignorance is the leader of all unskillful qualities, and when an unknowledgeable person has ignorance, all the noble eightfold path turn into wrong eightfold path. So but the significant thing in this sutta, the Buddha clears it very well. If there is a knowledgeable person, which means he or she knows about kusala and akusala, and kusala moola and akusala moola, punya and papa, and that sort of thing, when ignorance arises in him, he is able to break through the ignorance and let noble qualities develop as they are. So that is the important thing. So ignorance itself is dangerous. If it is, even if it is happened to a knowledgeable person, there must be akusala related to that ignorance nature. But the silver line for a knowledgeable person, or Sutta Arya Savako, whoever has come to the Dhamma in a certain level, can understand the policy of ignorance immediately and break through and get into the right lines of the Dhamma. In many places where ignorance is explained, ignorance is a result of either ignorance is a result of some other defilement. Mostly people see ignorance as the first cause of suffering, but Buddha did not clearly said that in Paticsamuppada theory, because in order to explain how suffering arises, Buddha has put avidya in the first place, but avidya could not be the main factor in many cases. Only avidya is not the only main factor in many cases, because avidya is also coming with some other defilement. In other words, as I mentioned, depending on 5 hindrances, avidya could arise, avidya could be developed. And in Avijja Pahana Sutta, if I go back to Avijja Pahana Sutta, it says lack of Kalyanamitta Sevana or Kalyanamitta quality. People create Asaddhamma Savana. People do not listen to good things because of bad friendship. And when people listen to unwanted, unnecessary things related to the Dhamma, they would develop Asraddha, and due to Asraddha, Ayoniso Manasikara, Asampajanya, and all kinds of bad, unskillful things could arise. Then we come across other unwholesome state also in mind because of those already said defiled state, and at the end you develop Pancha Nivarana. And Pancha Nivarana, five hindrances, definitely create dark side of our mind, and ignorance is compared to darkness. And when the person receives good association, Kalyanamitta Sevana, there is the chance of listening wholesome Dhamma, and the order is completely reversed into the wholesome Dhamma. So due to Kalyanamitta Sevana, he or she get to know about the right Dhamma, and we can see Yoniso Manasikara, Sati Sampajanya, and rising of mindfulness, and then listen to the, what do you call, important elements like Shraddha, and then four foundation of mindfulness and Bodhyanga. All kinds of things happen there to arise knowledge, clear vision. So that is what we have in that sutta, Avijja Prahana Sutta, which we discuss many times in Sutta study class. So friends, as we understand Paticcasamuppada, we talk about imasmin sati idang hoti. If there are causes or reasons for things to arise, it or they arise. If we talk about in singular or plural form, it doesn't matter. When there are reasons for something to arise, that arises definitely. So when causes or reasons for ignorance to arise, ignorance is the result. Nobody can stop that. But if we treat the reasons and causes of ignorance, ignorance could not come in as the force, as the leader, so that the defilement that could arise based on ignorance could also avoid or overcome due to that reason. So what we need to understand, ignorance in practical aspect, ignorance in our mind when we talk, when we act, and when we think. So to do that, we have to have a clear understanding. When the Buddha talks about asava, kamasava, bhavasava, kamasava, bhavasava, avijjasava mainly, and there is dittasava also. And then Buddha talks about other defilement. Buddha clearly said that avijja has produced kamasava, bhavasava, avijjasava. Avijjasava is there itself, but in order to emphasize the gravity of avijja, in one discourse, Buddha said that avijja is the main cause of asavas, all kinds of asavas. And so that we need to understand how avijja is acting in us in a usual day-to-day behavior, physical and mental. Because Paticcasamuppada about avijja has different layers. Some are deep, perhaps we do not know some, but the level we know is that avijja could working in normal conversation activities. So that let's have a discussion on that. Avijja could be in our speech. If we have malicious speech, telling lies, musawada, and if we do unuseful, pointless talk, and if our words are making people unhappy because they are not up to the point, and the word we use are not pleasant, we have ignorance in our mind, because we haven't understood the proper words, and we make people unhappy, so that avijja is there. The basis for people to have negative words is avijja, because we do not know what exactly we should select in talking. The ideas then would be also bad. When we choose bad words, when we choose unpleasant words, when we choose different kinds of uh, pointless words, it happens from the bottom of our heart, due to an expectation, with an intention. For example, if you scold at somebody for something, you have pondered about it and selected the sentence patterns immediately, and it is your mind speaking using words. So avijja has been immersed in our mind, so that it works through our words. And suppose we violate the first principle of the five precepts, or the second, or the third. So that is verbal misbehavior. So that avijja is working for anyone to kill living beings or harm living beings. Avijja cause for people to act stealing and committing misbehavior, is because of avijja. But interesting fact is that avijja is invisible. Avijja is not found easily in this act, but we need to understand avijja has been the underlying tendency, or the deep layered of unskillfulness in those activities for persons to violate those moral principles. So either verbal misbehavior or physical misbehavior happens due to mental misbehavior, and for everything the culprit is avijja. Due to avijja, the greed arises, and also hatred arises. So that's why the Buddha said leader of all kinds of defilement is as avijja. So how to, we know about avijja. We have kind of theoretical background, understanding about avijja. Then how do we overcome avijja? As we started the Paticcasamuppada, discussion last week, we said that we should understand Paticcasamuppada just to make clear all these difficult subject. Like last week, we at the end of the last week discussion, we talked about sunyata. When we understand links, and in the things between links, and what happened to our mind between links, there is nothing to take as me and myself. Therefore, we see emptiness, sunyata. The sunyata is coming as an effect when we understand Paticcasamuppada. And the same thing happened when we with avijja. Avijja could not exist in our mind when somebody or anybody understand Paticcasamuppada in the way of mind and body works. In other words, if you understand you as a combination of five aggregates and four elements and senses, that's all me, you would definitely see the Paticcasamuppada, because you see how senses work, and sensory experiences are accepted by the mind as inputs, so that mind is created in such a way, and the body is also a part mind's creation, so that you see causes or reasons of this and that, so that you see Paticcasamuppada. You as a human understand a succession of Paticcasamuppada, so that ignorance is not anymore about you, about your mind and body. So like that, we we should understand Paticcasamuppada. I just want to connect here the four foundation of mindfulness. Four foundation of mindfulness, Satara Satipatthana, as a powerful teaching, are taught by the Buddha to us and to the disciple at the time, just to see the Paticcasamuppada. Because you focus attention to Kayanupassana, the whole section of Kayanupassana is to understand each and every movements, parts, and nature of our physical body. And then when we go to the mindfulness on feeling, all kinds of feelings are really focused, investigated, and thoroughly tested, just to see what kind of feelings we have as beings. And then Chittanupassana and Dhammanupassana are like Kayanupassana and Vedananupassana. They taught us how to how to work our mind and which way our mind is working, and also mental state. So when you look at the four foundation of mindfulness with your experience, in your experience, there you see reasons and causes. There is no asmimana. Imasming sati idang hote etang mama eso hamasmi eso mi attari. That's what I wanted to tell. Eso hamasmi, this is I. Eso hamasmi. Eso hamasmi etang mama, this is I. Eso hamasmi, this is mine. Eso etang mama. Eso hamasmi, eso mi attati. This is myself. You cannot stand on these three things when you practice the four foundation of mindfulness, because the experience come to you that there is no such things in me, even though I use me, I, and myself, those words. There is no particular being in this body called I, me, and myself. It is because of you see the causes and conditions through the clear mindfulness on four foundations. So it is understanding Paticcasamuppada. And this happened to us even if we take the Four Noble Truths, or Yoniso Manasikara, or Samma Ditti, or any other set of teaching of the 37 factors of enlightenment. You can have this Paticcasamuppada. I told you last week, and you reconfirmed in the discussion, that all wholesome and unwholesome state Buddha talks about are based on Paticcasamuppada. We can numbers like we can numbers unwholesomeness, 10 fetters. They are working based on Paticcasamuppada, and then asavas, and then pancha nivarana, and then lobha dvesa moha, and of course, if you see the 12 links, how suffering arises, dukkha arises, there you have how they arises. That is Paticcasamuppada itself. So all unwholesomeness are linked each other. And that is Paticcasamuppada. And if you look at the wholesome dhammas, for foundation, for right efforts, and for iddhivada, the five spiritual powers, 5 powers, spiritual powers, 7 factors for enlightenment, a noble eightfold path. In addition to those 37, if we talk about sila, 5 precepts, 10 precepts, 8 precepts, and monks' precepts, novice monk, they are all linked together. Nothing happens alone. So that is Paticcasamuppada. And we talk about Paticcasamuppada in general sense. Last week, Imasmin Sati Dang. Under that, we can we can see the sun rises because of various reasons, and water drops from on top of a place to the bottom, or to the down below, because of natural reasons. So all these things happens due to Paticcasamuppada. But what we are trying to understand under the formula, under the theory of Paticcasamuppada as a doctrine, how we can stop suffering and how suffering arises is one understanding we could get with this effort, and the other one is how we stop suffering. So that is Paticcasamuppada. And if you understand Paticcasamuppada as a theory in your experience as well, so that is the absence of avidya. And if you are not knowing anything about this, that is called avidya. When avidya arises, according to the 12 link formula, sankhara arises. Sankhara here is basically punyabhi sankhara, apunyabhi sankhara, ananjabhi sankhara. It talks about the intention. If avidya is there, bad intention definitely come as a result. And if there is no avidya, there couldn't be bad intention, right? So then with ignorance, avidya, asankara definitely is muddled and not up to the Dhamma. And then whatever sankara we produce based on avidya as the cause avidya, the vijnana could not be right, because vijnana is also governed by avidya. And then namarupa, salayatana, passa, vedana, and all kinds of negative things could arise with ignorance. So that should be understood in our application. So we may not be able to see this immediately when things happen, unless there is enough practice. In order to fight with ignorance, we have to work well before things happen, right? So when a person came to the Buddha, what the Buddha said to that particular person, I cannot remember the exact name. If you want to overcome avidya, the Buddha said, just understand, just practice sila. And in another occasion, avoiding or overcoming avidya could be starting from giving away whatever you have. And in another occasion, a venerable monk said the whole process start from Shraddha. And then even Sariputta confirmed in one of his teaching, the process start from Kalyana Mitta. So there are many places one can begin to avoid avidya, and it is not the perfect, it is not avidya has been taken into consideration, but some other activities. In that regard, we can say that if we want to overcome avidya, we have to do what has to be done according to the Buddha's teaching. Just cultivate simple but very important wholesome qualities. And if you want to pull out avidya with big pieces of it, just take higher training, like practicing satipatthana and 5 spiritual powers and 5 spiritual faculties, and indriya samvara and different higher sila could be some pieces of dhamma that you can have in order to face the avidya bravely. But in a simple way, we should be taking care of our words, actions, and mind, just to protect the serenity and peace and so on. So avidya is such that we need to defeat it, and then we have to hang on to panya. When we talk about panya, the total opposite of avidya is panya, and it has to be understood as well. One of the famous examples for avidya and panya in the Dhamma literature is the room with darkness, in darkness. The room in darkness, thick darkness, is not clear for anyone. It is in darkness. You cannot see any object, anything in the room. But you somehow manage to find the switch of the light of the room or firebox in the room, and you make a light. So that darkness is gone, depending on the light, the voltage of the light. I don't know how to say it. Maybe the voltage. Anyway, suppose you light up a candle, and depending on the flame of the candle, darkness is gone. Suppose you have a 60-volt, bulb, and when you switch on, depending on the 60-volt, the illumination or the dispelling darkness is taking place. Suppose it is 100 voltage bulb, it is much more brighter than the 60 voltage. And if you use a here high voltage, bulb, it would be much more brighter than previous one. So this is a kind of simple examples or analogy given in the Dhamma literature to see the true nature of both ignorance and avidya. When there is ignorance, you cannot see anything. In the room, you do not see the cupboard, you do not see where the chairs are, you do not see the colors of the clothes, bed sheet, and the walls and so forth. But when you have a light, at least a candle, you can see them and where they are, and you do whatever you want to. Isn't this a great examples to say how ignorance dangerous and how important the panya is? So friends, if we have panya, no matter which words we use, yoniso manasikara or sati sampajanya or samma ditti or panya indra itself, that is showing us what is happening in us, not outside world. If we understand our mind and body as it is, we have already understood other people, other living beings, and also the nature outside world, right? So only thing we need to do in the higher training, understanding ourselves. When it comes to understanding ourselves, what is the main thing we need to focus to understand? That is 5 aggregates. So avidya is gone right and then and there when somebody understand the 5 aggregates. To understand 5 aggregates, one has to begin how rupa arises, how rupa arises, and how nama come into exist. So that you have to see the 6 senses and how these process come into exist and so forth. This is the proper way one has to understand avidya and eliminate avidya, culminating panya in the training. But there are some individuals in each era who understand, who cultivate panya, dispelling ignorance without those theoretical background. That is because they have enough wisdom. They due to friendship, wholesome friendship, and due to the stored energy in their mind from previous lives. So friends, some people get confused here, how one can get such a keen wisdom just by listening to them, just by just one action of kusala, they come to sotapanna, sakudagami, anagami, arhant. How could that happen? Friends, they have the seed of wisdom, but it was covered until somebody come and tell them the way out of it, so that they could do it immediately with proper seed of panya, proper seed of dhamma. So one way of understanding Patisampada is this way, that you take books and you listen to Dhamma talks, and one after the other you memorize, you keep concept in mind, and that is the academic way of understanding Patisampada. and also ignorance and other links of Paticamuppada. But this understanding Paticamuppada could happen in informal ways. So, for example, um, an untaught ordinary person who they actually go to school for studying anything would also develop Shraddha, develop Panya, Virya, because the Kalyanamita support him not to do this because it is bad. And they must that particular untaught person must be fear of doing bad thing because of various factors such as health, such as suffering he or she is undergoing, and because of social norms. As a result, he or she must be cultivating certain good things in throughout his lifetime, and as a result, he would understand the Dhamma. Even if he or she doesn't know how to formulate, how to explain the Patisampada or the ignorance, he must also, she also could come to understanding the necessary Dhamma. And in my understanding, those who come to Sotapanna, Sakudagami, Anagami, or Arahant levels in such a way, in informal Dhamma learning, understand what exactly happened in the mind and body. So that is how they see Patisampada. So ignorance has been explained in many ways, in many discussion in our Sutta study class as well. And I know that you learn it from many sources, so that I did not go to take different sources, discourses about ignorance. What I wanted to tell you is that in Paticamuppada, the ignorance is working in different ways. It is the immediate results of avidya is sankara, but avidya is working with the other links as well. Avidya could cause tanha to arise. Avidya has a link to upadana. Avidya has could have a link to salayatana. Avidya is really connecting with jati, jara, vyadi, marana, soka, parideva. Avidya could give its full support for Sankara to rush, but it is not that simple. Avidya is also connecting with the other 12 links. And what about Jati, Jara, Vyadi, Marana, Soka, Parideva? So they, if we do not understand our death, our loved ones' death, and if we do not understand what exactly sicknesses and sorrow lamentation, there we create new avidya based on jati jara vyadi marana. So isn't this showing that avidya is not the first cause, but it is one of the major cause? And as the Buddha said in Samyutta Nikaya, it is the leader of unwholesomeness. It could have, it is right, but it works as a cycle, right? So that we need to understand that avidya is widespread in the 12 links, in the 11 links. So I would like to have a discussion about avidya and the function of avidya in Patisampada in the next 20 minutes. I need to finish today's discussion before 9:10 because I have another program at 9:30. So we'll have more than 25 minutes to have a very good discussion on avidya and Patisampada, about avidya. While you are getting ready for your contribution, I just like to say you this, that this is from a book written by Venerable Payutto, Bhikkhu Payutto. Let me find it. So this is when we talk about ignorance, the other things that comes to our mind as one of the major causes of dukkha is tanha. So both avidya and tanha works together. Ignorance is the starting point from the past, influencing the present up to feeling. Craving is the starting point in the present, resulting from feeling and influencing the future up to aging and death. So as mentioned earlier, these two factors are the prominent defilement in each respective stage. Ignorance follows from sorrow, lamentation, etc., while craving follows from feeling. So there are different point of view. Based on Buddha's statement, people came with different ideas, and this is really interesting. So if you look at how avidya could arise from past, that is actually the commentarial work. And if you look at Visuddhimagga, it says avidya and sankar as the causes that relates to past. And when we talk about how a being goes from this life to next life and from next life to another life, so avidya avidya and sankara makes the things going forward. So that's how the commentary Visuddhimagga explain. So all 12 links have been categorized into 3 according to time periods. But what is happening in our mind when all these things happen, influencing the present after feeling? According to this Paito's explanation, avidya is there and sankara, vijnana, namarupa, salayatana, passa, vedana. Up to this level, ignorance is working, and just like a relay, so avidya is taking care of every other aspect up to passa and from vedana, and then tanha is taking the baton, and tanha is taking the leadership in making upadana, and then jati, bhava, jati, jara, marana, soka, parideva, and so forth. So since Buddha has said both avidya and tanha are major problems in suffering, so we can understand why this point of view has been coming. So I just wanted to tell that, and there are many other point of view of different monks and lay people gathered in this Payutto's book, which is interesting. So if you have anything to share, please take your time. I told this to you because you need prepare your contribution. So I think you are ready to say something.
Yes, Bante. Now, sometimes, as you say, like avidya, the part is, I think, Paticca divided into 3 time sequences: the past, the present, and the future. So avidya up to salayatana is the past. It's already happening in the background in ourselves. Like we don't see it, but we can start from salayatana downwards, where it says, what is the origin of the world? What is the ending of the world? Buddha talks about starting the Paticca there from that middle section, from Salayatana downwards. But he doesn't talk about avidya. So when he talks about certain places, he starts in the middle, not from avidya. So in the present situation right now, what we can feel or sense or be mindful, maybe from salayatana downwards, because avidya is at the background already happening. It's even in science we call it predictive error processing. So the mind is already active. There are thoughts happening already before we see the object, and it's for our survival. So then we have so it could be the ashrava, which could be the predictive error saying, oh, don't go there, that's a snake. but we see a stick, but stick is then suddenly say no, it's not moving. So then the eyes now starting to work. Oh, it's not moving. Oh, if it's not moving, it can't be a snake, right?
Yeah.
So from the previous memory, we get suddenly. So already in the background, in the past, what they are talking is probably happening in the background. Avijja with the ashtrava is already feeding because of the avidya. Avijja ashtrava is already feeding the avidya, right?
Yeah.
So the sankhara is already happening before we already see the object, right? So therefore, so that's a past. But the present is something from the salayatana downwards, and then the future obviously is birth, future, aging, and so maybe that's why they divide into three different time zones, although
Indeed.
it's happening right now.
Yeah. I see the. Thank you very much for your explanation. It makes a lot of sense about avidya and also the link of avidya to the other respective process and how we should see avidya also is explained in your contribution. Yeah, I see the significance of this past, present, and future categorization that come from commentarial work, because uh, that could happen actually. Past is could be immediate past. Suppose we have 8 past 1 minute and 10 second, and then when we say 8 past 10 minute and 10 second, and 8 past 10 minutes and 9 second would be the past. I just want to make the point that past is not some years ago or maybe in the last lifetime. It could be the previous second. So when things arise in our mind, ignorance, sankara, let's start from sankara and vijnana, uh, and all these things could happen immediately, and then when we see things, all these things in the Paticcasamuppada formula happens, right? As you said, you see a kind of snake from distance, and when you get closer and touched by a stick, it's not a snake, it's a rope. So earlier you saw a snake like things, and then you find out that it is not a snake. So see how in the past, in the immediate past, you had ignorance that it could be a snake, but you found out that it is not a snake. So it is the time, space, time gap is not that much. So I see the significance of dividing the uh, formula into past and present and future. Definitely. At the same time, I just want to add one thing to it. Paticcasamuppada is being talked about by the Buddha in different ways. How when the Buddha talks about how mind begins its journey, we can see that meeting the sensory objects with senses is the beginning of mind. If we make a point where minds begin, we can see that the Buddha talks about minds, starting of mind is with senses and sensory experiences, and meeting of the sense and sensory experience allows to arise eye consciousness or ear consciousness, what kind of consciousness. Cognitive part of the process start there, and meeting of these three called pasta, as you know. Then inside the pasta in the salayatana, now recognition, feeling ability of mind, and all kinds of mind making, eye making, idea making, concept making is happening. So if that is also Paticcasamuppada. So it is a kind of um, general overview on about Paticcasamuppada, how mind works. So if someone has ignorance, not knowing about what is happening, still this process happened. But if somebody knows about this process from the deep concentration, they also see Patisampada. So I think we are not, personally, I'm not in a position to tell everything about Patisampada, but what I personally see that Patisampada is able to watch in a sense to stop creating craving and asavas and attachment, upadana, and so forth, so that we could push some kind of unskillfulness back to the garbage in mind, so that we feel that saddhamma in us. So that is the way we could empty our mind from ignorance. So ignorance could be gone completely, as you know, when somebody attained full enlightenment. But the level of ignorance that could exist in being depends on how we attain to these important dhamma. So the Sotapanna has, if I turn this into this way, Sotapanna has eradicated three kinds of ignorance. Actually, Sakkaya, Ditti, Vichikicha, Silabhata, Paramasa are living in ignorance. They are, of course, ignorant states. And then when somebody attains to Sakadagami and Anagami, they also destroy ignorance level, because ignorance is feeding all these things. So that is additions to what he said, and thank you very much for your contribution. It makes sense a lot. Anyone who would like to say something about ignorance or any Dhamma facts you had with this discussion could be also appreciated very much. When Venerable Sariputta said that not knowing dukkha satya is ignorance, of course, I could see Janaki has raised her hand. Please take your time.
Tirun Sanai Bhante.
Wish you the same.
Just a clarification. I mean, how I have understood about moha, because I would rather use the word moha than ignorance.
Avijja,
because for avijja, because it's a I think it is based on sakkaya ditthi to begin with, because when you use, as long as you have this concept of self, then you have avijja. That's what I thought. I don't know. I may not be correct, but I just wanted to ask you.
No, it makes sense that you say that sakkaya ditthi, the view, self view, is creating avijja, right?
Yes.
It makes sense, because when you thoroughly believe that I, me and myself, if we turn this I, me and myself into simple term, I have a car and I have a house, beautiful house, and so that I am perfectly okay. No one else has such things. So I'm fine, and I am better than everyone in knowledge about this and that. I'm the one who did that better than other. So we are to talk like this in normal conversation. That is called sakkaya ditthi. That is called view about me and myself. So we, based on such view, try to show up. What happened to us there is that we haven't understood I, me, and myself, and we have, that is ignorance. That is that we are in a darkness about the truth. We do not know, we are relative to knowledge. Of course, when I say that I have a sound knowledge than anybody else, which means I have a relative knowledge about something. But there would be someone in another country who knows better than I, right?
Yes.
So I do not think about it, and I make a point that I am the best. So I am the best in that society. So if I know that I have a relative truth that, about my knowledge, and my knowledge is superior depending on other people, so that is called measurement, that is called mana. So it is sakkayaditi in part, as well as ignorance, right? So
does the ignorance arise because of this self-concept?
Ignorance arises because of self-concept, and self-concept also is because of ignorance. They are supporting each other. So Sakkaya Ditthi, the self-view, can produce more ignorance. For example, if you have a mango seed, let's say the Sakkaya Ditthi is mango seed. Okay.
Yeah.
So when you plant the mango seed, there is a mango plant, a small one, and then it grows day by day with your watering and fertilizer and sunlight and rain, and enough temperature is there. So later, after a couple of years, the mango produces new mango, and then the new mangoes can produce another mango, other mango tree. So the cycle is going like that. So when we say mango seed is Sakkaya Ditthi, the tree is like ignorance, because ignorance is the leader of all kinds of defilement. When we compare the mango tree as the ignorance or avidya, it is producing many mangoes. So in other words, ignorance is creating more Sakkaya Ditthi, because we compare mango seed as Sakkaya Ditthi, self-view, and the tree as ignorance, avidya. So tree is producing more mango, means tree is producing more many self-view.
Yes, Bhante,
And when we talk about mango seed, the particular one, first mango seed is also from mango tree. So avidya has been the cause for mango seed to come into and give a new plant. So in the matter of understanding links between those terms like Sakkaya Ditthi, Tanha, Upadana, we can take such example, we can understand in such a way. But when you take Sakkaya Ditthi, there is ignorance, avidya. When you take Upadana, there is avidya, definitely. In the background of each defiled state, you can see avidya.
Yes, Bhante, but I still cannot understand if the self-concept is absent, even if the necessary conditions are present, this mango seed, or if the called self-concept, the self, if it does not exist, then there cannot be any other things arising from that, or it won't grow into a tree, because although all the are present, if the self-concept is not there, then it won't grow into a tree, isn't it?
At the beginning and just before you finish, I didn't hear you, maybe 2-3 seconds.
Okay. That now, suppose if the mango seed is the self-concept, so if the self-concept is
mango
even
seed,
if the
mango
necessary
seed doesn't,
conditions are present,
mango seed,
so it won't grow into a
mango seed doesn't make a plant. Mango seed doesn't make a plant if there is no water no soil, no temperature, no sunlight are provided. Okay, so mango seed doesn't make a is nothing if these nutriments come to it.
Yes, if the self-concept is not there.
The self is not the problem here. The view about the self is the problem. The
yes,
view
no
becomes wrong about the self because of ignorance. Even when we talk about arahants, they are self, they are being. The Buddha is
that is the self-concept is not there. That's why I mean this vibhajati or something like that. They analyzed.
So what is the word
analyzed
you said?
it and broke it into several. The Buddha broke that in.
I didn't hear you well because of the signal problems.
Different ways the self for us to understand. Maybe yes. Sorry about that.
I think my computer doesn't
broke it into.
Yeah.
Maybe my connection. Maybe Bante.
Yeah. Say it again, please.
The Buddha broke this self and analyzed.
You mean when we talk about self, you mean the mind and body, right?
Self, yes, it's a body.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay.
I really don't think much about the body because it's a decaying thing from the time of conception in the womb. It's from the time from that second that it was conceived, it is decaying. So, but body is not the problem. It is the mind. The Buddhism is all about the mind, and so even that it occurs in the mind, but not in the body. So that's what I said, that if we can abandon this view about the self, then of course, then can't we be rid of avijja?
Yeah, I heard what you said at last because of the problems, internet problems. Okay. The mind cannot live alone without the body, and mind, the nama, the five kind of nama is about rupa, and mind, the feeding ground. If I say this in a simple term, the feeding ground of mind is the body. So people, living beings, thinks that this body is the being, but when we analyze mind and body from the Buddha's standpoint, we can see that the body is something solidity, cohesion, heat, and air. That is how the Buddha said. So we see that the body is insignificant in that way, but the mind lives and produce and maintain its status with this body. And if one understands, mind is about body, and that's how Nama Rupa, the relationship between Nama Rupa is working. So anyway, as you said at last, if one is able to stop wrong view about mind and body with the categorization, with the breaking apart into small particles, and that is your right view then. So you are doing something good in your understanding. View is the view is turning view is turned from wrong to right by doing that, so that ignorance is not there. Just like the room in darkness, so you light off a candle, or you flash a torch, or switch on the light, so that there is no darkness. So if you know who exactly you are and what exactly your mind and body, the ignorance is gone related to that. So if you understand view as it is, there you don't have wrong view there. Isn't that making sense?
Yes, but the thing is, I mean, mind doesn't need a body to exist, because that's why we can send mind to anywhere at any time.
No, mind should have body, otherwise there is no being. the mind cannot live without the body.
How can we then, when we send the mind too far away? Now I can send, now I live in New Zealand.
That
and
is
I
a
can
different subject. That is a different subject.
Canada.
That is a totally different subject, and it's a misconception that mind can exist without a body.
I think the Nama Rupa concept is always there. Nama cannot without survive with Rupa, Rupa cannot survive with Nama. Bhante, I think I just send you a small passage from covering all with your metaphor, but the mangoes. You talk about mangoes. There's a metaphor, nice metaphor. It's like Buddha said, the impermanence is, it's like a bunch of mangoes. Like if you understand impermanence, it's like breaking the bunch of mangoes attached to one stick. So everything falls, even ignorance falls, and the concept of I, this Janaki was talking about, falls. So I think the understanding the impermanence is the key. So which covers the mango and impermanence and ignorance. It's just a very.
Where did you take this?
Samyutta Nikaya it's there. The Samyutta Nikaya.
If you could.
It's a link is there.
Copy and paste the link of it.
SN 22102.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much for that. That's really beautiful. I need to make a point that that traveling, taking our mind to different places is a different subject, which it's still it is done with the Rupa. Buddha has said very clearly that how he how one disappears from here and appears there in another place, and how he listened to sounds of a divine existence or in different places. So he sent the kind of light from his samadhi experience, and then he could listen to those sounds. So it doesn't say that mind lives without the body. So suppose that Buddha is physically here and listen to something in Sri Lanka, it means the Buddha focuses with his samadhi mind, Buddha focuses Sri Lanka, particular place, particular people, or any sort of information should be there for the Buddha to focus, at least the area called Sri Lanka. Then from his samadhi mind, he does that. It doesn't mean that mind goes there. Buddha could open up his mind to see that particular area, and then he narrowed down his mind further to particular person, and he look at his karma, and that sort of things happen when such things was done by the Buddha or done by any Arahant at that time. Even today, if somebody see Divida or Dibbachakku, Dibbasot, any sort of experience, that is how they do, and it is not living mind without the Rupa. If I say correctly, Nama always should live with the Rupa. There is no even a fraction of time that Nama doesn't Nama doesn't live without the body, Rupa. And it happens when the Arahants attain to Parinirvana. So both Nama and Rupa is gone. Otherwise, Nama, even in Arahants, Nama, Rupa live, and mind always should have support from, as you said, physical body.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Bhante.
Yeah. We'll have a discussion about that later on. And now I finish today's discussion. Thank you for your contribution too. And thank you for putting these things into our perspectives so that we can think about it, and we can rearrange our knowledge about Avijja and Paticcasamuppada. It helps a lot for others too who listen to Dhamma talks carefully. And I can see that Dr. Fial has put things in the chatting box. If you want to get those things from the chatting box, please take it while I'm rounding off the session. The sutta he quoted is from Samyutta Nikaya. number is 22.102. Thank you very much for that. It's very deep and very complicated, therefore, but we have some understanding about avijja, and we are working on avijja to decrease it and also find a kind of footing to pull it out completely. And I think we can do it. So that I hope you will definitely end up your practice by destroying avijja. And don't think that we have discussed about avijja completely. There are many things perhaps we do not know. Let's work together to understand avijja and pulling it out from our mind and attain nirvana. With that wholesome thought in mind, I say that is the end of today's Sutta discussion. Tomorrow we'll have 4-day program, and I wish you all a happy and peaceful weekend. May you be able to notice avijja, if any, in your mind, and arouse wisdom as a total opponents for avijja. So with that in mind, I wish you all the best for your practice. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you, Bante.
You're welcome.